Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth from Alpes Astrology at alpesastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today, and I welcome all my new viewers as well and audio listeners. So this video and or audio, whichever you're listening or watching to, is actually going to be about the 2 eclipse seasons that we have in 2025. And they cover 2 months essentially. So we're going to have our first set of eclipses coming up here in March, and then the second set of eclipses will be in September 2025. And what's interesting about these eclipses, especially the March eclipse, is there are a lot of other things going on in the month where these 2 eclipses are happening, in particular the ones in March. We have a Venus and a Mercury retrograde, respectively, happening in March 2025. And we also have Neptune that will be going into or ingressing into Aries at this time as well. And then on top of that, we have the spring or the vernal equinox happening in March too, right? So there's a lot happening in terms of March, but when we go to September, we have 2 eclipses happening there too, and we also have the fall or autumnal equinox happening too. And in between the 2 eclipses, we have Uranus and then Saturn going into new signs as well. Uranus will be going into Gemini, and Saturn will be joining Neptune in Aries. So lots of activity, I would say, between the eclipses as well as the months of the eclipses too. When we look at that first month of March, we have the first eclipse will be in Virgo, and it will be at around 24 degrees of Virgo. Now, what's interesting about this eclipse is it's a full moon, but it's going to have a companion eclipse in that September time period where there will be a new moon. So essentially, whatever happens, ends, a big spotlight is put on an aspect of your life, you're going to have a new beginning that'll happen in September. The other eclipse that's going to be happening in March is the Aries new moon eclipse. And generally speaking, that's a new beginning in a positive way. I'll cover the details of that in a minute. When we look at that September time period, we've already covered the fact that it's going to be a new moon eclipse in Virgo. But the other eclipse at the beginning of September will be one in Pisces. And so we're activating that whole axis, right, of both Pisces and Virgo with the eclipses. That final eclipse in Aries will be the final eclipse, as we've been experiencing the past about almost 2 years, the eclipses that were in Libra as well as Aries. So this is a wrap-up in March for the Aries eclipse, and it's nice that it's a new moon. All right, let's start off with that total full moon eclipse at approximately 24 degrees of Virgo. It'll be on the 14th of March. The companion eclipse, which will be a new moon eclipse, will be on the 21st of September at 29 degrees of Virgo. I'll cover that in a minute. I will also be doing your sun signs and or ascendants. You pick, you could do both towards the end of the video. Everything is timestamped, so if you want to go directly to one eclipse or one specific sign and listen or watch it, you can do that. Just look below. Back to this eclipse, the full moon eclipse in Virgo. Now, there's a few things that is happening at this eclipse. You have a real martial or Martian-like influence because you've got the Star Dubhe, which will be conjunct this moon, the full moon eclipse at 24 Virgo. And so it brings in things like insight. It can also bring in this whole aspect of the Mars type energy. So this is action oriented in nature. And the other thing that we've got happening here is we have a big spotlight put on relevant facts, because Virgo is very much, it does have a lot to do with health. So there may be an element of health issues come in here at this time, but it's all about the details. And the actual planet that rules Virgo is Mercury. So we see here this development at this full moon total eclipse in Virgo, where pertinent facts are probably going to be put, a big spotlight put on it. And there will be probably some concluding energy as well. This full moon will be conjunct the south node that is in Virgo. So this is the south node eclipse. That's how this is viewed. And I view this as sudden removals, right? The south node, generally speaking, is what we need to either incorporate into the north node, or we kind of need to kind of let it go, put less emphasis on it. And conjunct with this moon, I just got this feeling, because it's a full moon, sudden removals. But the fact that relevant facts and details are also going to be highlighted at this time. Now, it will be important for you to listen and observe what happens at this time, especially if you've got something, say, around that 24 degrees of Virgo, or in the opposite sign, 24 degrees of Pisces, because you're going to have another part of it in September when we have the new moon, right? Yeah, and as I mentioned, there may be some aspect with regards to our health at this time, like a sudden piece of information comes in, because Uranus will be forming a very favorable trine with both that full moon as well as the south node, right? So it is putting an emphasis on the past. And when I put these all together, like the dots, I felt that what may happen is there'll be a big spotlight put on some past aspect of our collective health. And I mean, that's happening already in the news, right? So this isn't something new I'm bringing up, but I'm just really saying the astrology will be putting a big focus on this. On top of that, we've got the moon opposite Saturn as well. And then the sun, which at a full moon will be in the opposite sign, is also conjunct Saturn as well. And so this is putting some difficulties around this full moon. And the element of Saturn really brings in, especially with the Saturn conjunct Sun, it's really like those that control the rules and the regulations that we put in there, their fists down and saying, you got to follow this. I'm declaring that you have to do this. And it brings in this aspect, of course, of difficulties potentially, right? It also can bring in delays. Saturn can also delay things as well. But I get more this feeling of rules and regulations having to be adhered to. We have a nice Neptune conjunct the north nodes. And wow, if you're in the music industry, even the film industry or dance, this can bring in some fabulous inspirational type energy for you. So the arts are very much featured here in a positive way at this full moon too. But the other thing that Neptune can do on top of the north nodes, just when we bring it out to the collective, is it can also have us being confused a bit, and maybe it's a little bit cloudy or shrouded with regards to our collective future. It doesn't seem so straightforward or obvious. Yeah, I mean, Mercury will be retrograde at this time, and it is actually going to be at 9 degrees of Aries. And that final eclipse, the new moon eclipse in Aries that I mentioned that's happening in March, will be at exactly 9 degrees of Aries. So this is giving us a heads up here saying, pay attention to what information comes in, and certainly what type of messages are featured at this time too. And it being in Aries, this is like new initiatives and I'm going to go do this. This is what we're going to do. This is the decision I've made. This is the action I'm going to take. So pay attention to, again, going back to what I spoke about at the beginning, that this eclipse is going to bring in some important messages that may play out at that final eclipse in Aries towards the end of March. So at that full moon total eclipse at 24 degrees of Virgo, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Sabian Symbol. And it was really interesting. I kind of chuckled a bit at this one. It's this Sabian Symbol, which is at 24 degrees of Virgo, is Mary and her little lamb. And so really this puts a focus on innocence, but also spiritual realizations. And then I said to myself, well, yeah, but if we don't have that, if we don't have some innocence and spiritual realizations with regards to this eclipse in Virgo, where are we without that? Where are we without it? And so I thought that if you don't have that, the other part of this is you can have these inflated egos that are feeding off the struggles of others or feeding off that innocence. They don't know what they're doing, so I'm going to tell them what to do. Yeah. So then that inflated ego thing goes on top of that full moon eclipse as well. As I mentioned, we have the spring equinox also happening at this time in this month of March. That's going to be happening on the 20th of March at 2:02 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And that's going to be at the moon will be at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. And of course, the sun will be at 0 degrees of Aries, which I really liked. The only fly in the ointment, of course, is that Mercury and Venus will be retrograde in Aries at that spring equinox. So I would say there's going to be consideration, maybe a lot of discussions going on with regards to any new initiatives that may be up here that may follow even beyond the April time period when that Mercury and Venus do go direct, right? Because of the overlap of the spring equinox, you're looking at least a 3-month influence here. But I do like that moon being at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. It brings in an element of optimism as well as positive feelings, right? I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in my March video, but I'm just mentioning it as another thing that's happening in March around the eclipses. So when we go into that second eclipse in March, we're looking at a new moon eclipse at exactly 9 degrees of Aries. It is also the time when Mercury retrograde will also be widely conjuncting that moon as well. And that in turn will be conjuncting Neptune. And Neptune is going to be at 29 degrees Pisces, 57 minutes. And there's it just has to go a few more minutes and it goes into Aries, right? So I think this also can bring in an element of confusion when we have the Mercury retrograde conjunct Neptune. But it can also bring in, I would say, if there's discussions, especially on the collective level, but even at sort of, say, a personal level, if you've got some of these degrees happening in your chart, there could be some confusion going on with regards to discussions. Contracts, I would say, take care with contracts. Make sure you're just looking at all the details. But anything that you might be doing with regards to giving a message out, because you've got that retrograde of Mercury and Venus, be careful. And in particular, I would say be careful about any kind of money decisions that you might want to make that second eclipse on the 29th of March. So the details of this eclipse are, it's on the 29th of March at 3:58 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Interestingly, the ruler of Aries, which is Mars, is still going to be in Cancer, but it's going to be square Black Moon Lilith at 22 degrees of Libra. And so I saw this potentially, I got the impression that there's going to be some upsets here where people are going to be almost like that sort of foot in mouth disease where you just automatically say what you're thinking. That's going to pop out too at this eclipse. And it's going to irritate some people. Now, it may also bring in the law at this point because Black Moon Lilith is in Libra. And so I also saw that coming in here with regards to some delays, like a kibosh is going to be put on that Mars going direct in Cancer because the black moon Lilith is squared, and they say, not so fast. You're going to have to rethink that decision, that action that you want to take. And I think it's the law coming in here to say, you cannot do that. We're going to have to work this out. We're going to have to negotiate. Even though there's going to be this element of, I'm going to do whatever I want. We're also going to have Saturn sextiling Uranus. And so talking about something different, this could be a time also around this eclipse towards the end of March, a time when we're going to have new, unique, surprising, out-of-the-box scientific discoveries, right? Because Uranus can actually represent that. That Mars, again, that rules the eclipse, will be widely sextile Uranus. And Mars will be trine Saturn. So this also suggests there may be sudden movement. That's the Mars part of it. And the Uranus is the sudden part. The movement is the Mars decision to move forward. And I'm thinking this moving forward may be something that is martial aggression of some sort. It can involve the military here. And so that may be something that comes in as the new start. Because, of course, Mars does rule the military, right? It's assertive at its best and aggressive at its worst. Now, at this eclipse in Aries, there is a yod that's happening. And the yod involves at its base the planet Saturn at 29 degrees of Pisces and Uranus at 24 degrees of Taurus, pointing at black moon Lilith at 22 degrees of Libra. So I spoke about this already, but let's just dig into this. So this yod is going to be bringing up attention to something, right? That's not going to be going away. Now, on its surface, a lot of times we refer to black moon Lilith like the angry woman. But it can also be generalized to just primal instincts. You know, I want to do what I want to do, and just popping in and saying, I'm going to do this. You're going to do this. I'm going to tell you to do this. But the fact that it's in Libra is very interesting to me. Now, I think there's going to be some self-empowerment. That's kind of the Aries part of it here, together with black moon Lilith, and primal instincts. But these may also be coming from our institutions, because we have that Saturn involved in this yod too. So I think there's going to be sudden surprising actions or events that can happen as a result of the yod folding into this final new moon eclipse at 9 degrees of Aries. I'm going to give you the actual Sabian symbol that is for this eclipse. And it's really cool. It's a crystal gazer, right? So I should have brought my crystal ball out to literally show you what the Sabian symbol means. And so this refers to seeing the whole situation, and that you need to focus on the whole situation. And by doing that, it will help you understand future events. So to me, this final eclipse that's happening in Aries on the 29th of March is really saying attention has to be paid to looking to that future, not just saying, let's just patch this together for now. Let's put a Band-Aid on it right now. And this applies to our individual lives as well, not just in the collective, right? But I really like that a lot. You know, literally looking to that future to help us understand what may evolve as a result of what we do. But there's going to be a lot of action happening around that eclipse that I think is going to be very aggressive in our world, on the world stage. Now, when we look at towards the end of the month, we are literally looking at Neptune going into Aries. So we end the month with Neptune going into Aries. And I mean, this can be, you know, a holy war, a spiritual war, You know, it's kind of like fighting for religion, maybe of some sort as well, because that whole Neptune can represent philosophical beliefs as well as religion. And then that Aries part of it is very much martial-like, assertive, and aggressive. So that element, it comes in at the end of the month. And Neptune will be staying in Aries for some years to come, for sure. Now, I'll just mention that we're going to have Saturn going into Aries, joining up with Neptune. And that's going to be on the 26th of May. I'll cover that more in my May video. And then, as I'd mentioned earlier, that Uranus going into Gemini is going to be on the 8th of July. And I'm mentioning these two ingresses at this time because, of course, that's in between the eclipses as we go on to the September eclipses. So moving on to the September 2025 two eclipses, our first one is going to be in Pisces. It will be a full moon total eclipse at 15 Pisces, 22 minutes. And of course, the sun will be in the opposite sign at 15 Virgo, 22 minutes. And the moon at this time will be conjunct the north nodes. So even though this is a full moon, that moon conjunct the north nodes really is saying to me, it's pointing at our collective destiny. And certainly if you have something around this, pay attention to what is illuminated at this time. Just because it's a full moon doesn't mean things are all going to end. It's because it's an eclipse. It can go either way. But generally speaking, full moons are endings, but they're also big illuminations, right? Think about that full moon, what it looks like. And so I see this as a big illumination of our collective destiny. And whatever happens around this, there's a big sort of sign that's saying, go here on this path if you want to stay on the right destiny path for yourself. And that's because that moon conjuncts the north nodes. So I think it's a new start. And if we take it out to the collective, that moon can represent the people. So this can be a whole new start for some people. The only thing is that this is both these moon and north nodes are in Pisces. And Pisces has another side to itself, right? It can bring in deception. It can also bring the energy of dissolving things. So there may be something dissolved around this time too, that has something to do with the people. Now, the other thing that this can bring in too, because Neptune rules the sea and water, it rules lots of things, but we'll just stick with the water here. I would say there could be some real water issues going on. So floods, torrential rains, that sort of thing, right? Could be occurring around this full moon, and a big illumination put in on our climate. Now we have Mercury conjunct the sun as well as the south node, opposing the moon, right, and the north node. So again, this to me also suggests that, because that's in Virgo, right, Virgo rules health, amongst other things, this also to me emphasizes a health crisis from the past. And as I mentioned earlier, we already have stuff happening where things were eliminated pretty well from society, and now they're coming back. So that's going to be, I think, also an issue here too. Now, Jupiter is going to be squaring Mars at this time too. And the other thing, this full moon is going to be on a star called Sheet. And Sheet has a number of different things around it, depending if you want to use the really old version or the more modern one. But generally speaking, it does refer to greater mental activity. It talks about the intellect and logic, you know, as opposed to emotional stuff, right? But it can also bring great misfortune. And with that Jupiter square Mars, that says to me that there may also be somebody wanting to take action But again, the law coming in here saying, no, you can't do that. And somehow it being stopped. Now, the other thing that Libra can represent, and that's the Mars in Libra now, right, is diplomatic relations. And so there just may be some obstacles that have to be surmounted before greater emphasis and development can be put on diplomatic relations, right? When we look at the Sabian symbol for this Pisces eclipse, it says, and so we're looking at 16 degrees of Pisces, you always round up. It says, in the quiet of his study, a creative person experiences a flow of inspiration. And so this suggests, especially on a personal level, that's how I really read this, that you really need to quiet the mind in order for the creative process to actually develop and become something, right? To become tangible. The other thing that this can say, if I look at it more negatively, is there's going to be someone that refuses to listen about anything. They're just going to do what they want to do. And so that's the other part, where you could have inspiration and come up with something quite creative. There may also be someone who decides they don't want to do that. And in some ways, this is supported by Uranus, that will be sextiling Neptune, and trining Pluto. So this whole, it's a nice aspects when you've got sextiles and trines, you know, but these are powerful planets we're talking about. And especially Uranus always brings in some kind of unexpected surprise, but it's also radical. That Uranus can be very radical. And then when you combine it with the Pluto, it's to me saying radical transformation here is required in order for us to achieve our ideals. The ideals is the Neptune part. Now, you know, this can also bring in unexpected, fabulous pieces of art, a dance. Spirituality can be brought up here at this time. Even we can look at breakthroughs in, you know, treating psychological problems can be brought in here too. And the psychological problems can be represented by both Neptune and certainly Pluto, right? And that's a trine that's happening here. So opportunities to treat, you know, untoward, previously unable to treat psychological problems. And I know I keep an eye on this, and there is some very interesting beginnings of research in this area, and I suspect they're going to come out at this time as big breakthroughs. But if you are involved in any kind of creative project, so that's film, that's art, dance, music of any sort, this eclipse could bring in some fabulous inspiration for you. A tangible, you know, not, you get the inspiration, but then you produce it, right? Yeah. So the final eclipse that's going to be happening in 2025 is nicely going to be a new moon eclipse. It will be at 29 Virgo, 5 minutes on the 21st of September at 12:54 p.m. on that specific time. So there's a few things that are juxtaposed here. For those advanced students that know that 29 degrees of any sign really brings a big focus to the sign's qualities, that degree is a critical degree. It's called an anaretic degree. So even though this is a new moon eclipse in Virgo, that 29 degrees also brings a little bit of a finality to it too. To anything to do with Virgo type things. And we talked already about health. So we may have some solution here that comes to light because it's a new moon with regards to a health problem. But it can also bring to light a new opportunity to deal with some important facts that come to light at this eclipse around the 21st of September 2025. Now we have the sun and the moon together. That's a new moon. And it'll be conjunct Mercury just into Libra at this time. And so this says to me, important facts are going to be brought up our way with regards to probably diplomacy, the legal profession, that type of thing, right? Now, in some respects, that Libra can also represent, manners and, being nice to people as well. And Venus, of course, rules Libra. Now, although Venus doesn't rule this eclipse, it's Mercury that rules it. So you need to pay attention where Mercury is. And we just spoke about that. Venus is at 2 degrees of Virgo, not its favorite sign to be in, but importantly, it will be squaring newly minted Uranus in Gemini. And so this brings up, I would say there may be some challenges with regards to money. I think that's what Venus is representing here. It can also, though, represent females, for sure, where females speak out and give important facts, and they're not afraid about being a little radical about it or, upsetting the apple cart here. But I'm thinking that this is more money. Unexpected challenges with regard to money come to light with Uranus being in Gemini now, right? Now, that sun and moon will be opposite Saturn. And so to me, this also suggests that, again, those with the rules and regulations, the old institutions, are going to be influencing this new start in some way. And maybe even putting a delay on things of some sort, right? We have Mars at 29 degrees of Libra too. So this brings in an element of laws being forced upon people. That's what I'm getting here, because don't forget that 29 degrees an anaretic degree, and it kind of squishes down and condenses all that energy of Libra. And so Mars is action, and then we've got the laws here. So this is putting the laws on people, the laws on things. I'm almost thinking also forcing diplomacy, which is kind of the opposite of what diplomacy is. Yeah. That Mars also widely squares Pluto, right? Because it's at 29 degrees, almost 1 degree of Scorpio. It'll square that Pluto, which I believe at this time is around 3 degrees. Let me just double check that. No, Pluto is retrograded back to 1 degree. So that really is a square, a full-on square. Now, at this new moon eclipse, we also have the eclipsed moon on a star called Denobula. And Denobula speaks to daring activities along with quick judgment, but this could lead to despair and regret. So if you have anything around this degree point of 29 degrees Virgo or 29 degrees of Pisces, just take care with whatever judgments you're making and whatever decisions that you want to make, especially decisions where you want to act right now. I would suggest that you take a breath and actually consider what you're doing here, right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't take action of some sort. It just says for sure with that star, Denobula, I would say you need to weigh things carefully and maybe even seek some advice. Nicely, we're going to have Jupiter in Cancer now in September, trining the North Node and sextiling the South Node. So to me, this is giving some real positive energy with regards to any new destiny path to do with Cancer-related things. So this is, motherhood. This is the homeland. This is our family, our mother, right? So that's a nice energy that's going to be going in there. The other two nice energies that we have is Neptune is going to be sextiling Pluto, and Uranus will be sextiling Pluto at this new moon eclipse. So this also suggests to me that there will be some opportunities here to make some real changes, real positive transformational change. When we look at that Sabian symbol, it says 4. So the 29 degrees becomes 30 degrees for the Sabian symbol when you round up the 29 degrees 05 of Virgo. So 30 degrees of Virgo says, totally intent on a task, a man is deaf to any allurement. Therefore, any intentional and decision or event. So I would say that this kind of backs up what I was saying with that star, the effect of that star on this eclipse. It's a person who's like single-mindedly, so this is going to be probably for the collective, although individually this could happen to you too. The single-mindedness of, I'm going to do this. This is going to be what we're doing. And just not paying attention to anything, being deaf to any allurement. So I suppose just be aware of that on an individual basis. You know, seek out advice. It doesn't mean you got to take it, but sometimes getting advice or just rethinking things can actually help out with this new start for you. Now, we've got 2 yods occurring as well here, right? So, yep, we've got 2 yods occurring. And it's interesting, it's rare to have 2 yods at an eclipse, but this final eclipse has it. So what is it? The 2 planets that are at the base are Uranus, that's going to be in Gemini now, and Neptune, that will be in Aries. And they're pointing to that Mars at 29 degrees of Libra, right? Remembering that 29 degrees is an anaretic degree. It focuses and concentrates the energy of Mars and Libra. So this says to me, action, Mars, which is the featured planet here, through opportunities potentially in diplomacy and utilizing the law. Now, the other thing that Mars is going to be doing, it's going to be opposite Chiron. So there could also be an emphasis here on having to take some action with regards to some big health issues. And I think that's on a global stage. But again, this is bringing in this yod, laws, right? Diplomacy. The other yod has the 2 base planets of Neptune in Aries and Pluto in Aquarius, pointing to Venus at 2 degrees of Virgo. So this refers to, I think, money again. There's going to be some powerful transformation here with regards to our money on a global stage. Important information is going to come out about it. Now, Virgo, as a sign, is on the conservative side, but it likes to get things right, and it tends to be, or can be, insistent on everything being perfect, everything being right. But that Pluto and Neptune energy is asking for transformation here, right? To move forward with something regarding our money. But this could also feature literally a female or female things, right? Or the feminine is highlighted here. Now that Venus, that both that Neptune and Pluto are pointing at in this yod, is square Uranus. So I would say that there's going to be some energy here that is going to be challenging unexpectedly to fit in this new way we look at money. But like I said, this could be a new way we look at the feminine, or we look at literally a female. Now, we have, just after this final eclipse in the eclipse season in Virgo, we have the fall or autumnal equinox come in. And so that is when the sun goes to 0 degrees of Libra. Again, kind of emphasizing, diplomacy, emphasizing the laws. Now that's going to be conjunct Mercury. And then Mercury is going to be conjunct the moon, which is at 10 degrees of Libra. And that's going to be on the 22nd of September. I'm going to speak more about that, the chart itself, in my September video. But I wanted to mention it because we wrap up that final month of September of eclipses with this fall equinox emphasizing diplomacy and the law or laws themselves in a big way. All right, I'm going to move on now to do your individual sun signs and or ascendants. You pick. I would suggest that you listen and or watch for both your sun and your ascendant. So Aries, that full moon in Virgo, as well as the new moon in Virgo, will both be in your 6th house. So there's going to be an emphasis on 6th house things, which can be your health. It can also be your day-to-day job. 6th house is also small animals as well, and service of some sort too. So I would say that March eclipse could feature some ending for you where maybe suddenly a job ends, or you suddenly decide, you know what, I don't want to work at this job anymore. I want to get a new job. And you make that decision in March at the full moon, and you start interviewing. And in September, you get an opportunity for this new job, right? New sense of employment for you. But it can also bring in your health. So that full moon could put a big focus on your health. Something comes up and you say, you know, I think I need to take care of this. And by doing that, getting sort of expert medical help, you're able to make a new start a few months later in September at that companion eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo. Now, you've got in March your own eclipse, right? Your new moon eclipse. And so that's a whole new start for you. Now that's towards the end, obviously, of March. That's going to happen for you. And so I would say that, you know, whatever new start you want to make, certainly aim for it at that eclipse time period, right? And so we're looking at, for that particular eclipse, you're looking at the 29th of March. I mean, this could play out different ways for you. I would say that the big emphasis, maybe you want to make a whole new start in your life, including maybe whatever you're working at right now and or your health right now. And that new moon at the end of March gives you the opportunity, because it's in your sign, to concretely put something together for yourself, right? Maybe even make a move of some sort that, I mean, Aries, you know, as a sign, you want to be expressing yourself. You want to be your own individual. So that may come up at that time too, towards the end of March, as sort of a theme where you just say, I'm not expressing who I am. I want to take more control over my life. Maybe you want to pioneer a new area of life, say in your career. And towards the end of March, you make that decision. In whatever area you want to do it in. And you take a few months to process the whole thing. And like I said, you may, especially if it relates to your health or a job, have something new happen at that eclipse that's going to be in Virgo, the new moon eclipse in Virgo in September time period. I mean, that's how I see, generally speaking, it may play out for you. The only thing in both eclipses in March, especially the latter eclipse in your sign, Aries, you've got both Mercury and Venus that are retrograde in your sign. So I would say, if it was me, I would be using that new moon eclipse for sure to decide or make a decision on something. But because you've got the retrogrades happening in Mercury and Venus, use that to negotiate or dig into more information that you need to get, right? Or decide you want to negotiate a contract, negotiate for more money, that could be up for you too. Let's just say you do want to stay in your job, but you're not getting enough money. Well, that whole March time period could actually have you negotiating something, and something really important, like a real aha, new start at your eclipse towards the end of March. And of course, the other thing that's going to be happening at the end of March is you're going to have Neptune going into your sign, literally. So right after the eclipse that you have the new moon, you then have Neptune going in there. You may get infused with some real inspiration with this new start that happens at this eclipse for you. Yeah. Now, the other eclipse that's going to be happening at the beginning of September, that full moon in Pisces, is going to be in your 12th house. So this can put a big emphasis on things that are behind the scenes, right? So in September, you may have to, for some reason, work behind the scenes here. Now, because it's Pisces and Pisces rules the 12th house, this could be something like, say, working in a hospital for some reason, or going to a hospital for some reason is emphasized at that whole full moon eclipse towards the beginning of September 2025. It can also be like anything behind the scenes, but it does put this big emphasis more on compassionate type places. So this can also refer to, say, ashrams. It could also be, government offices are also featured here too. So there may be some reason in September that you have to go either in secret or work behind the scenes in some government office of some sort that's important for you, and the eclipse highlights it for you, right? The other thing, of course, is that you may use that eclipse to do a Marie Kondo in your life, right? The 12th house is all those things we kind of shove onto the carpet. Sometimes it is our self-undoing. And so this may have you making this conscious decision to clean up your life. Now, the other thing the 12th house is rest, right? So this could also be a time when you realize you've been so active with all these new initiatives maybe started in March time period at your eclipse, that you say, hey, in September, I need to take a bit of a break here. And the highlight is put on, yeah, you need to rest. You've been overdoing it. You've been working too hard to make things happen. And so that may play out for you, where you actually take some rest and maybe take a vacation on water because it's a Pisces eclipse. All right, take care, Aries. So Taurus. Now, both those moons that are happening in Virgo are in a fellow earth sign. So that means they trine you, and that's very, very favorable energy coming your way with both those eclipses. The first one is a full moon total eclipse in Virgo, and then the companion one is a new moon in Virgo in September. And so that trine brings in your 5th house. There's going to be some that fall in love. I mean, wow, you could meet someone in March, or something happens in March that develops maybe over the summer time period to become a serious relationship in September, when it has the new moon there in Virgo. Now, you could have also a creative project that comes into view in March that starts you on a whole new creative project in September time period. So maybe someone notices your work, especially creative work, in March, and you get this fabulous new opportunity that develops in September for you at the new moon in Virgo. Certainly, if this creative project involves anything to do with service, health, collecting important information or facts, it really supports you positively. Yeah. Having fun could be a real initiative that you start realizing, I'm not having enough fun. I got to lighten up here. And that eclipse puts a focus on it in March. And you develop this whole new way of looking at life joyfully that ends up putting you maybe in a better health situation when it comes, as well as maybe a better work situation, because that Virgo rules the 6th house, and those 2 areas of life are highlighted. A whole new start results for you in September. But there's going to be love come your way for some here, for sure, right? Some Taurians, for sure, are going to have something come their way. Yeah. Now, when we look at that new moon, that's going to be in Aries. That eclipse affects your 12th house, Taurus, in March, towards the end of March. So this puts a new start with regards to things behind the scenes. So there may be some Virgos, there may be some Taurians that are actually having to deal with things behind the scenes, either in hospitals, ashrams, anything that's behind the scene. Government offices could be featured for you for some reason, some new start. Maybe you're working on something really important for your work, but it has to be kept behind the scenes right now. Certainly being Aries, this is new initiatives of some sort, right? That you maybe have to put in place, but you can't bring them out necessarily right away because of that 12th house involvement here. But you know, the 12th house, as I've said other times, also rules things like rest. Maybe you've been overdoing it. Maybe some Taurians just need to take an initiative and assertively say, look, back off. I need some rest here. And that's what you do with the new moon in the 12th house. The 12th house also can be, you know, a lot of times where we have our self-undoing. And maybe you recognize some of these things that you're doing in your life that you need to change. And some new start happens with regards to how you're dealing with things in your life that haven't been working out. And you take a sharp look at it, at this new moon eclipse in Aries, and you say, I've got to change this. I've got to do something new and take action. And maybe that action is going to be you asserting your individual self, because that's very Aries-like. Now that full moon that's going to be happening in Pisces, well, that sextiles your sign. That's opportunities coming your way, and it's the 11th house. So in September, you may have some opportunities to develop friendships, to maybe join some new groups. You may do both because it's a full moon eclipse. You may let go of some friends, take on some new ones, let go of some things that you've been doing with groups, and join new groups at this time. Now, the 11th house is also our hopes, dreams, and wishes. So you may have some great inspiration. Inspiration is the Pisces part, to take up opportunities, or you see opportunities to make some of your hopes, dreams, and wishes come true. And if you're involved, Taurus, in anything creative, especially dance, music, film, photography, poetry, that full moon could bring to light a final concluding beautiful energy around something super creative in those areas, right? So Taurus, these eclipses for you in both March and September are very positive for you. You really need to utilize these energies for yourself. I really like that final eclipse in Pisces for this year. That's a full moon, because it sextiles your sign. Wow, I mean, if you're involved in any of those creative type things that I just mentioned, look towards, that's going to be more towards the beginning, the first half of September, to bring maybe it forward for people to look at some beautiful, inspirational, creative things that you're doing either in music, dance, the arts of any sort, right? Poetry. Now, you are still going to have Uranus dipping back into your sign, Taurus, throughout this year, the rest of this year. But know that next year, that whole Uranus is going to be out of your sign. You should be feeling a big lightness to your life that every time you turn around, there's something new you've got to handle. with Taurus now, or Uranus moving out of your sign, Taurus. Yeah. So this year you will start to feel that, but it really will be next year, 2026, that Uranus will be more fully entrenched in Gemini. Take care, Taurus. So Gemini, that full moon in Virgo and the new moon in Virgo, one in March, one in September, will square your sign. And it will be squaring your fourth house. The fourth house is your home, your family, in particular your mother. So there may be some big focus put on one or all these areas in March, where maybe you've got to take care of something, or maybe you literally have to, you make a decision, you want to move your house, you want to move your home. That happens in March. And that's the big focus for you at that eclipse. It could also be something comes up challenging with regards to your family that you have to pay attention to, right? That there's facts or information that come to light that you say, okay, I've got to look at this. And maybe it'll involve you working with some family members to sort something out. But like I said, it could just be some Geminis decide to change up their home, to end maybe a place that they're living and go live somewhere else. And then staying with that whole eclipses in Virgo, when we go to September, we have the new moon that's going to be in Virgo, squaring your fourth house. So this may also be a time when you want to make a new start in maybe a new home at this time. And it's not so easy to do, but you have to, there's a few challenges involved in getting this new start for yourself in this new home. Or it could also be that you see a new start with regards to your family and or your mother, but there's still some challenges around it with regards to get this initiative moving forward. If you do buy a new house, say in September, or rent a new place in September, it could just be with the square that you've got to handle a few things. There's some things around the newness that you've got to handle. That's not all just straightforward and clear. Now you're going to be entertaining Uranus in your sign, Gemini, starting in July 2025. Now Uranus will dip back into Taurus a few times throughout the remaining of 2025, but basically once we get into 2026, that Uranus will be fully entrenched in your sign, Gemini, for a number of years. And I would just look at this as positive. Certainly if you've been looking for something to be moving forward, to either get out of your life or some new independence that you've wanted, Uranus is going to bring it your way, my dear. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of new energy coming into your life to shake things up. But look at this positive for yourself, Gemini. It may come through Gemini type things, right? Which is our messages, right? Even our thoughts. Your thoughts could be shaken up and changed at this time in a positive way with Uranus in your sign, Gemini. Back to the eclipses. The new moon in Aries, which is going to be in March, sextiles your sign, Gemini, and involves the 11th house. Straight up, this is you making new friends towards the end of March. This is you joining new groups positively. The sextile says opportunity, so you can take it or leave it, but it's going to be there for you, right? It also represents your hopes, dreams, and wishes. So Gemini, you're going to also have the opportunity here, if you want to take it, to make some hope, dream, or wish come true towards the end of March. Something may come up for you with an eclipse. It could be a person, event, a thing comes up that says to you, hey, this is going to help me make my hope, dream, or wish come true. And it's a new start, right? That new moon eclipse in Aries. When we look at the full moon, that's going to be towards the beginning, the first half of September. That's going to be in Pisces. But that also squares you, Gemini. But this time it squares your 10th house. The 10th house overall really refers to our career, but it is also our reputation, as well as, anything that we might do with regards to our social standing. And so with the square, it just says that there may be some more boxes to check or another hoop that you've got to jump through in order for you maybe to make this start in your career. Full moons, generally speaking, we talk about, endings, big illuminations, that sort of thing. But the thing is with eclipses, they really can go either way. So Gemini, you may have something close in your career, but at the same time open up for you, especially if it has anything to do with Pisces type things. So this is great compassion. This can be the psychological mind, right? That type of thing can come in here too. It can also rule things like any compassionate project, for instance. This can also refer to things like hospitals, right? Or anything to do with compassionate type activities. It just means, maybe there's a test you've got to do and you got to pass it before you can enter into that new start in your career. It doesn't mean it won't happen. And like I said, you're going to be having this whole Uranus shaking up your life where unexpected things are going to come and go in your life to help you get on your destiny path, right? Take care, Gemini. So Cancer, those moons and eclipses that are going to be happening in Virgo are going to be sextiling you. That's opportunities, right? And it'll involve your third house. So we've got the full moon that's going to be happening in March in Virgo, putting some kind of big emphasis for you, some kind of big spotlight. It can be an ending or a wrap up as well, but I think it's going to be for a lot of Cancers, a big spotlight's going to be put on communications of some sort. They're going to be important for you for sure. Between March and September, you are going to be focusing on some kind of communications that are going to be important for you. Now, the third house can also represent your siblings, your neighbors. It's, short travel, say, around your city or province or state. And so those opportunities could be up for you too. So maybe you're going to get some opportunity come up in March that will play out throughout the summertime period, then culminate with some kind of new beginning in September when we got the new moon eclipse in Virgo. Certainly, if any of these things that you're going to be doing have anything to do with gathering important facts or information, or have anything to do with health, they will be highlighted here positively for you, right? Because Virgo is the sign that both the full moon and new moon eclipses are in. And Virgo is all about health. It's service. It's gathering important information. And then the third house is the house of communications. It may also be, you may also get some opportunities here, Cancer, to actually write. Yeah, so someone may come to you in March and say, hey, I've got this project. It's not all put together yet, but would you mind putting something together for me? I'd like you to write this. I want you to write about it. And it then culminates as a new start for you in September at the new moon eclipse in Virgo. I like that. Now, going back to March, that new moon that's going to be in Aries, it squares you, and it squares your 10th house. So towards the end of March, there may be some kind of challenge that comes up with regards to your career. Maybe you want to make a new start, Cancer, and it's not going to be so easy, that new start that you want to make. There's some challenge or block. But that block and delay might actually be good for you, right? And that's how I would look at it, whatever challenges that come up at this time. I mean, you may just have to, in March, look carefully at what you are doing as your career, right? The 10th house is career, it's reputation, it's our social standing. All those could be up for you as you want to make this new start. Maybe you're going to be looking at your career and say, I want to make a whole new start here in this career. I want to change what I've been doing. And you have to now take the time to figure out, well, how am I going to do that? And that's what that square represents. Doesn't mean it can't happen, right? When we look at that full moon, that's going to be in Pisces. Well, that's a fellow water sign, Cancer, and it trines your sign, and it involves the 9th house. So this is positive for anything regarding legal matters. If you're wrapping up some kind of legal case in September, boy, you're going to be fully supported here with that full moon in Pisces. The other thing the 9th house is, it rules anything to do with foreign people, foreign places. You could, in September, be wrapping up a fabulous overseas trip or a trip with water, because Pisces definitely represents water. That could be something that you do too. But it's a full moon, right? It tends to put a big focus on something, but because it's an eclipse, it could also be you initiating some travel in September. I always think September is a great time to travel. And you put together, everything just comes together for you with regards to the travel and details of the trip for you that you want to take. For others, it might be you publishing some of your work, right? Maybe that full moon and new moon that happen in Virgo support this writing project. And when you come to the full moon in Pisces, there's something that comes up for you with regards to being able to publish that. Now, the new moon in Virgo happens after that full moon in Pisces, but that's okay, right? The whole month is going to be full of new things as well as things ending. So I think that for some Cancers, that could be up for you, that you publish. And still others, if you're doing a final, say, Ph.D. or a master's, you tie it up in September, or at least you see the stamp clearly going on approval of your thesis, that type of thing too, because it also rules that 9th house, higher education. But on an esoteric level, that 9th house represents meaning in life. So for those Cancers that are, operating at a higher level, you just may really feel, right? Certainly Pisces is all about feeling and our intuition, that you really have true meaning in your life and you're very grateful for it. Big emphasis on that area, right? Take care, Cancer. So Leo, the eclipses that are going to be happening in Virgo, the full moon in March and the new moon in September, are happening in your 2nd house. And the 2nd house is all about the money that you make. It's about your value as well. People valuing you, your values that you have. It can also be about our possessions too. So the full moon that's going to be happening in March brings some concluding energy to money in your life. Maybe it's money you're giving out, money that you're making. Maybe for some Leos, you're going to be saying, this job is not giving me the money I want. I've got to do something about it. And between March and September, you start negotiating for some more money. With September eclipse in Virgo, the new moon, you get more money. Or it might be that you just change your job. Now, you don't have to literally change your job with regards to the company you're working for, but you may find that in March time period, there's this opportunity coming up in September where it means you're going to end something to do with a job or duties that you're doing in a job. And in September is going to be a focus on new duties in a job and new money coming in for you at that time. Yeah. Your value, I believe, is going to go up here, whatever way you cut it, and you're probably going to be getting more money. Now, the money may not come in until the new moon eclipse towards the latter part of September, but that's okay. And maybe you're going to be spending some months negotiating a new job, negotiating for new money. Now, when we look at that new moon in Aries that happens towards the end of March, well, that trines you, right? You're a fellow fire sign, and that involves your 9th house. So I would say that towards that eclipse at the end of March, you may see or take some initiative to decide to go on a trip, because the 9th house does rule travel, foreign places, foreign things. So you may decide, hey, it's been a long time since I've taken a vacation. I'm going on a trip here. And that's what you do. You put together this fabulous trip that you want to do. Now, the ninth house also rules things like legal matters. So that also could be you have a new start with regards to, that's very positive, by the way, to have a trine. Yeah, legal matters could be very favorably featured for you, where you have a new start with regards to legal matters positively working out for you, Leo, in March. Like there's a tie-up at the end of March regarding it. For others, you may publish something, right? The ninth house is publishing too. And meaning in life may just be very sweet for you, Leo. Yeah, towards that end of March, you may say, wow, everything that's happened so far in March has been great. And I see this new start positively happening for me, and it feels great. Now, when we look at the full moon, that's going to be in Pisces. So this is going to be towards the first half of September 2025. That's in your other money house. That's the 8th house. This is shared resources. This is your investments, your 401ks, your pensions. It is your psychological self too. So there's going to be some wrap up here for some Leos. Now, there could be some Leos that decide they're going to retire. And that 8th house money, you've got to access your 401k, your pensions. That type of thing could be happening for you. Your investments may have to be cashed in at this time because you decide you're going to retire. That could be up for you. Or maybe a mortgage that you've been paying is paid off, or a credit card is paid off at this time. That would be something to really aim for. If Leo, you're in that category, aim for, I'm making this towards kind of mid-February 2025. And if you're listening to it at that time, really, if you can, aim for September time period to wrap up that credit card, pay it all off. That's beautiful energy for you. There may be some little reward for you as a result of doing that. If you're paying money out for something, that's going to wrap up at that full moon, also in Pisces in September for some Leos too. Positively, right? Take care, Leo. So Virgo, well, 2 of the 4 eclipses happen in your sign. So you're featured big time in both March as well as September. March is probably going to be a wrap up for you, or you get something revealed to you, Virgo, that's super important for you in March. These will be important details. Important information comes up that you have to deal with. Now, we're looking obviously at your first house, so it could be in anything, any part of your life. The new moon that's going to be in September, that's going to be the latter part of September, is also in your first house. So this says there's going to be a new start. Whatever ends or gets wrapped up or a big spotlight put on it in September, Virgo, know that you're going to have a whole beautiful new start in September. In any part of your life that you need a new start. Wherever you need an ending, that's going to happen in March, okay? Then you're going to have that new beginning as a result of the ending in September, and it's going to be positive for you. This is a big, big focus for you. So between March and September, a lot of stuff's probably going to happen for you. Letting some stuff go and letting new stuff come in for yourself. Now, going back to March, that new moon eclipse that's going to be in Aries is in your 8th house. So this says new starts with regards to shared resources, new starts with regards to your investment, new starts maybe with regards to your 401k. Maybe there will be some folks that maybe do something like have a new mortgage come your way, or you open up a new credit card, or you start a new investment. A really good activity for some Virgos with this 8th house influence certainly would be to look carefully at your finances, maybe make some adjustments of some sort, maybe even seeking out some new advice from a financial advisor would be good here too. At that new moon. So I'm talking about now the new moon that is in Aries in your 8th house. For others, I mean, the 8th house is also our psychological selves. So there may be some Virgos towards the end of March that say, there's been a lot of stuff brought to my attention, and I really need to talk this over with somebody and get some objective information or advice coming my way. And that could be, say, through psychological means. But it could also be through like a financial advisor too for yourself as well. So when we see that full moon in Pisces, that happens the first part of September 2025. I mean, that is going to be opposite to you, Virgo, and that's going to feature your 7th house. So here I would say the first part of September, there's going to be put not a focus on you like the other eclipses in Virgo, but now it's going to shift to your partner. And so there's going to be some wrap up with regards to a partnership of some sort, an ending or a new, ending an old way of doing a partnership is going to happen for you at that full moon. So that's the first half of September 2025. Some big wrap up. It's a total full moon as well in Pisces. So I would say there's going to be a wrap up there. Now it could be to do with a serious partnership in business and or marriage, but it also can be clients as well. So I'm thinking too, I mean, there could be, say you've been negotiating something. Part of that, the full moon and new moons in Virgo was putting all the important pieces of information together. And then at this full moon, you are able to work with your clients to say, okay, I put it all together now. And the stamps, the signatures, the dates have all gone on it. And something evolves here for you. Now, this full moon eclipse is going to be towards the first half of September, right? And then with the new moon happening towards the end of September, Virgo, in your sign, a whole new start is ushered in. Yeah, exciting times for you, Virgo. I'm really excited for you between March and September. Yeah, lots of great stuff happening for you. So congratulations, Virgo. Take care. So Libra, that full moon and new moon that's going to happen in Virgo happens in your 12th house. And so there's something going on here, Libra, behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, perhaps in a hospital setting. It could be in an ashram setting, government offices, anything behind the scenes. So we're starting off with that full moon in Virgo, and this could be some decision is made, some big spotlight is put on something that you are asked to handle. You're asked to handle important information, important facts, but this has to happen behind the scenes. Maybe it's you putting together some documents of some sort that involve careful analysis of data. But know that in September, especially the latter part of September, you're probably going to be able to bring something new. So I see sort of a percolation of something to do with important information and facts starting in March. And then over the time period up to September, you're then able to bring, still behind the scenes, a newness to whatever you've been working on or dealing with at this time. Now, it can also be to do with your health, for sure. Maybe you're going to take, something comes up at the full moon in March, towards the first half of March, that you say, I got to take better care of my health here. And you say, okay, I'm seeing all this stuff. I've got to put some new things in focus and in motion for me. And you don't necessarily talk about it, but you maybe consult people behind the scenes. How can I make my health better here? And then we come to September and people see a whole new you, a whole new healthy you. It can also involve, your day-to-day job here as well. So there may be some Librans that are work behind the scenes from March through September to get a new job happening. And that new job happens around the new moon in Virgo, the latter half, September. Yeah, that could be up for you too. I mean, the other thing too that Virgo covers is, small animals. And so there might be some Librans that actually take on a small animal throughout the eclipses in Virgo. So that's March as well as September. Maybe you start volunteering to get involved with small animals, and it results in September at the eclipse, the new moon eclipse, of you getting your own small animal, right? Yeah, that's a nice outcome. Now, when we look at that new moon that's going to be in Aries, well, Aries is opposite to you, so that's your 7th house. So there's going to be some, this literally could be you getting married. Yeah, that's an activity that could happen with a new moon eclipse in your 7th house. For others, it could be you letting go of a business partnership, letting go of perhaps a marriage partnership, or renegotiating the terms of a marriage, renegotiating the terms of a business partnership. But it does tend to put an emphasis on your partnerships, but it also can be clients too. So there may be some Librans that, if say you've got your own business and you have clients, that you have a lot of new clients coming in at this time. It's a big focus. You've got to handle stuff to do with your clients. So that's a positive new start for you. Staying with that 7th house, Libra, you know that you're also going to be having both Neptune at the end of March and then Saturn in July go into Aries in your 7th house. So there's some significance here that's going on with regards to partnerships, business, marriage, and clients. Any other. So it's you looking at other people. And I would say that, generally speaking, the latter half of 2025 into 2026, you're going to have to be dealing with a lot more others, a lot more people out there. And I'm not saying this is going to be bad. It just means a lot more activity happening with 7th house matters. And like I said, for some Librans, this could be you getting married. Hey, with Neptune in there at the end of March, you may meet your soulmate. Like, these are positive things, right? And Saturn coming into your 7th house says these are serious relationships. Well, that's what a marriage is. Yeah, I like it. Now, when we look at that full moon in Pisces, the first half of September, that's in your 6th house. And so the 6th house can represent things like, what do you do day to day? If you don't work, it is what you do day to day. If you do work, it's the work that you do. It is also your health, and it's also small animals. All these things could be coming up for you with a big focus at the beginning of September. I'm thinking more than likely, this is probably going to play out with regards to health, where there may be something that comes up the first half of September with regards to your health, and that you are going to make some decision. And the decision might be to do with the job that you're doing. You may say, this job is not helping my health, and I've got to do something about it. And that's the activities that you start taking with regards to what do you do with this eclipse at the beginning or the first half of September. That you decide, I have to change something here. It doesn't mean you have to lose a job or like literally leave the job, but it does put a focus on dealing with something to do with what you do day to day and or your job, right? Because it's affecting your health. That's what I'm seeing here for you. Yeah. But the big emphasis for you is really going to be other people, dealing with other people, right? And as I said, pleasantly, it might be a marriage partner in a positive way, right? Or a new business partnership. That might be something you do too, Libra. At the full moon at the beginning of September, you give up your job, right? And instead, at that new moon in Virgo towards the end of September, you go into business partnership, and that's what you do. All right, take care, Libra. So Scorpio, that full moon and new moon in Virgo sextiles your sign. So these are opportunities coming your way through the 11th house. The 11th house is mainly about the friends we have. It's the groups we belong to. It's our hopes, dreams, and wishes. And so you may have some opportunities here to have some of your hopes, dreams, and wishes come true. Now, the coming true more than likely is going to happen at the new moon eclipse towards the last half of September 2025. But hey, you know, eclipses are wild cards. They can bring in new things. They can end things. So you could have something happen in both March and September with regards to your hopes, dreams, and wishes. But make note that those opportunities are going to come through probably friends and or the groups you belong to. So it could be that in March at the full moon eclipse, and it's a total full moon eclipse in Virgo, a friend brings a big spotlight to your life, and it helps emphasize something maybe that you need to either change or that you need to end. I mean, this literally could play out too. Easy flowing energies to end some friendships or end belonging to some of the groups that you're with. But I'm thinking what may happen for some Scorpios is a friend may bring to light something to do with maybe a health matter. Or if you've got, say, some issues at your day-to-day job, it helps with a friend helps by coming in to highlight maybe some important information for you. And then that results in you having a new start the latter half of September with regards to those matters. Whether it's health or the job that you do or what you do day to day. But friends are intimately involved with the full moon eclipse and the new moon eclipse in Virgo. So we're talking March and September, right? Now, when we dial back to March, that new moon in Aries is in your 6th house. So what's interesting is Virgo as a sign rules the 6th house. So here we're going back to that whole Virgo thing because it's the 6th house. So it seems to me, I would say, especially in March, if you want to change your job or change some aspect of your job, some aspect of your health, I would say probably March is going to be a good time to do that because you've got this whole new beginning towards the end of March in your 6th house too, right? But it seems to me if that is the case for some Scorpios, you need to let go of something in order to get something new. But that newness with the new moon in Aries is also going to emphasize, you know, your individual self, you doing what you want to do. Maybe even pioneering new roads with regards to the job that you do. You taking command of a situation, right, at work. That could come. And again, it may come through friends, right? It can also be a whole new start with regards to your health. Yeah, so for those Scorpios that are having health issues, know that that eclipse, the new moon eclipse towards the end of March could really favor a new beginning with regards to your health. And then like literally kind of the next day, Neptune will be going into Aries, right? So it's kind of on the tail end of the eclipse. We've got the Neptune situation happening too. And so Neptune is great compassion. And that can translate into, you know, compassionate medical help, for instance. That could be coming in here for you if you need it, right? Yeah. Now, when we go to that full moon that is in Pisces, well, that's a fellow water sign. So you know that it trines your sign, favorable energy coming your way the first half of September, and it is in your 5th house. Wow. So there's going to be some Scorpios that literally have a new love. And maybe because it's Pisces, this could be very dreamy love. Maybe even a soulmate comes in for you at this time. There may be other Scorpios that give birth at this time because children are represented by the 5th house. Now, it can also be a pregnancy too because it's an eclipse. It can go either way, new start or ending, right? So either or both could happen at this time for some Scorpios. The other thing is, of course, is creative projects. So for those Scorpios that are involved in some kind of creative job, say, that full moon eclipse that's happening in Pisces towards the first half of September could be bringing up this favorable ending to a fantastic creative project. And I mean, with Pisces, we're talking about especially things, music, poetry, dance, film, anything in that area could be magical for Scorpios at this time. Yeah, for sure. Take care, Scorpio. So Sagittarius. Well, you have that full moon and new moon in Virgo squaring you, and it squares your 10th house. So, okay, it brings up challenges with regards to your career, your reputation, your social standing. And I always look, when I see the squares to the 10th house, it always says to me, it might mean you have to go through a test of some sort, check off some kind of box, get a qualification that you don't have. It doesn't mean you're not going to get the change you want in your career. But those two eclipses that are squaring your 10th house say you want to make a change in your career. You want to do something with your career. And there's something stymieing you, but it's probably something simple. And it's going to come to light in March, Sagittarius. So watch what comes to light with regards to your career, your social standing, your reputation, especially in March at that full moon eclipse, because there could be something that really is highlighted for you. And the highlight's going to mean that you've got to get involved here to make some changes of some sort, to initiate a new start in September that you're going to be required to do in your 10th house of career. Yeah. So don't be afraid to let go of an old way of dealing with career and embrace a new way of doing your career at that September eclipse towards the latter half of September. Because also in March, you have a new moon in Aries, which is a fellow fire sign. And it trines you, right? And involves your 5th house, Sagittarius. So I'm thinking, like, if we stick with the career part that I first started off with, you may have an opportunity to do some kind of creative thing in a career situation. That happens towards the latter part of March. You let something go with regards to how you're doing your career, or you look at it carefully, and then boom, towards the end of March, this creative opportunity comes up for you and you say, hey, wow, that's fantastic. Because trines are very favorable. So off something negative, you could have something very, very positive here. Now, Sagittarius, the other thing that could happen for you is you could have a sudden love attraction happening. This is Aries after all, right? Aries likes to move quickly. It's ruled by Mars. So you could suddenly find yourself attracted to somebody at this time, and a new love relationship starts for you. Also, there may be some Sagittarians that get pregnant, especially a pregnancy at this time. I mean, it's an eclipse, so it could also be, you actually give birth at this time. But more than likely, it's going to be a pregnancy potentially at this time. If not, and you have children already, there could be some positive things happening with regards to your children towards the end of March, right? Yeah, very nice stuff happening. Creative projects, though, where you take the initiative, are very favored at that end of March eclipse. Because we also have Neptune literally the next day going into Aries, it also suggests that this, if it's a compassionate type of activity that is involved in this creative project, boy, that's fully supported by that Neptune going into Aries too, right? When we look at that full moon in Pisces, that's the first half of September, that also squares your sign Sagittarius, but it now involves your 4th house. So this just says that there may be some difficulties with regards to maybe a literal home, your childhood home, your mother, or your family. Now, it can bring a big spotlight to this area of your life. And because it's in Pisces, I would say, wow, bring out your compassion card, Sagittarius, and really try to be compassionate with regards to whatever difficulties might be happening. And it might be you're looking at this from a 10,000-foot view and that your family or your mother's going through great difficulties, but you got to get involved and be sympathetic towards it. You may not want to be, but with this square, you're intimately involved in it and have to help resolve some issues here. But it could just be a home. I'm thinking with Pisces, there might be water damage in the home, or something to do with water and a home that's providing a challenge for you that isn't so easy to resolve. You know, just put your thinking cap on, Sagittarius, and look at the best way to resolve the issue. Now, Pisces is all about intuition too. So Sagittarian, that full moon in Pisces, the first half of September, where there may be some challenges with regards to a literal home or your family or your mother, you know, use your intuition. What does your intuition say? That may be very helpful for you at this time, Sagittarius. It's not all bad. You're going to probably be very compassionate with some family member that'll really appreciate all the effort that you might put in to, you know, make them feel better. You know, that compassion goes a long, long way. I mean, the other thing is Pisces can also rule things like hospitals, right? You know, behind the scenes places. So there may be something up with regards to a family member and or your mother where you may have to get involved visiting them in the hospital for some reason. Or maybe they're doing physical therapy and they rely on you to take them to the hospital to get their physical therapy. That's an easy way this could play out too, where you've got to put some effort into it because they need your help. Yeah, needing your help is very featured here towards the first half of September for your family mother situation. All right, take care, Sagittarius. So Capricorn, both those eclipses that are happening in Virgo are in a fellow earth sign, so we know you've got this favorable trine happening, and it involves your 9th house. Wow. Pretty fabulous stuff here, Capricorn. So we're looking at the full moon that's going to be happening in March, the eclipse in Virgo. And that is going to be, I think, either a big spotlight put on some aspect of either higher education, it could be a legal matter, it could be travel of some sort. You end some kind of travel positively. Publishing is also 9th house too. So there could be something that wraps up for you, Capricorn, in any of these areas, right? Now, it is in Virgo, which really speaks to a few areas. It really speaks to important information or facts. So it may be that there's going to be some Capricorns that publish something that has important information or facts in it that leads to a whole new beginning, the latter half of September 2025. Yeah, I mean, the 9th house also can rule things like visas and green cards as well, by the way. And that could be a big activity for some Capricorns. Maybe you want to end living where you are and you want to get into another country, and you're required to put together all important information and facts at the full moon and submit it for a visa that comes through the latter half of September. That's a big activity that could happen here for you. But it could also be a legal matter of some sort too, right? Where some kind of attention is put in September to a legal matter or legal issues. I mean, this could be even something, you know, you're putting your will together of some sort. Or even signing a contract with a new job could be up, where you finally end doing all the pieces around it and negotiating in March that leads to a new start in September. But important information and facts are going to be really important for you and useful for you at this time. Yeah, I mean, Virgo also rules the 6th house, which is your day-to-day activities if you don't work, but also your day-to-day job. So there could be some Capricorns that literally are negotiating between March and September for a new job. And It's favorably featured for you here, by the way, in that latter half of September of you getting it at the new moon in Virgo. But it could also have some Virgos that maybe are going on a long time travel. That's what you do. You start some kind of travel in March that ends in September. As I said, even though they're full moons and new moons, it doesn't mean it can't be a new start as well as an ending, right? Even though they're new moons and full moons. Eclipses can go either way. And I'm thinking that could be up for some folks. I mean, the other thing this could play out is that you decide in March that you want to end a job of some sort that you're doing. And you take that time period between March and then September to actively look for, interview for new jobs. And the new job comes up for you in spades the latter half of September, right? That could happen for you too, for you here. Yeah. The 9th house is an excellent house. It's also meaning in life. So there could be some Capricorns that really start seeing the true meaning in their life and start gravitating towards those areas of life that give you that, right? Now we dial back to March, the latter half, literally the latter part of March, we have that new moon in Aries. That squares your sign, Capricorn, and involves your 4th house. 4th house is your family. It's your literal home. It's your family home that you grew up in. It's your mother. So there's some new start here. I'm thinking some Capricorns may purchase a home or get a new rental, maybe in an apartment, towards the latter half of March. But there's a square here, and so there's some challenges that's going on. Maybe you can't get the apartment that you want or the house that you want. Something's up, and you're disappointed. That square could bring in a disappointment with regards to a home. And especially Aries is all about new starts and moving forward. You see this as your new start, but there's some challenges that are going on here that don't seem to support you. But it could also mean that you just have to work out something with regards to this home situation. Now, it can also be a new start. Your mother may be having a new start. For some Capricorns, you may have your mother coming to live with you for some reason, and you've got to organize your home so that she can be comfortable in it. That could be up. For others, you may just be involved in having to deal with some family issues here. And you're required to take the initiative. That's that Aries part. Yeah. Or your mother may want to make a new start with regards to the home. Maybe she wants to sell her home and she's turning to you to help her do this, right? She wants a new start somewhere else. And she's looking at you to help her do the initiation of this process. That could be up here too for you. But going to September, the first half of September, you've got that full moon in Pisces, and that sextiles you, Capricorn, and involves your 3rd house. And so this says to me that there may be some wrap-up of some sort with regards to you maybe being given opportunities to stop traveling around. Maybe your job has required you to do some just short distance travel of some sort, and you're given the opportunity to stop that. And actually, when I look back at the eclipses in Virgo, because the 9th house is, traveling a long distance, maybe there's going to be some Capricorns that start traveling internationally or be given the opportunity to travel internationally and stop doing the local stuff. That could be a whole theme between March and September. But the other thing the 3rd house is, you could be wrapping up a writing project favorably here, right? Yeah, wrapping up that sort of thing is very much featured here. Especially if you're writing something that's to do with compassionate type of things. Or even, I mean, Pisces can represent things like hospital setting. Maybe you're finishing up writing a whole SOP in a hospital situation that you're in, or some kind of maybe volunteer, compassionate organization that you're working with. The 3rd house is also Opportunities to interact maybe with your neighbors as well as your siblings. And even though it's a full moon, it can just be straight off opportunities to interact with these two groups of people, right? Communications are very much featured here, no question of it. Third house is all about communication. So maybe you're going to be, or some Capricorns are going to be wrapping up maybe some new way that you've learned how to speak and think more compassionately. Now, if we take it to a whole other level, Pisces can also be our intuition. So maybe you're learning, Capricorn, new ways to tap into your intuition in terms of communications and figuring out what's going on. But there's opportunities here for you to be doing something new. Other Capricorns are going to be probably presenting, opportunities to present in front of groups of people. How awesome is that? Maybe speaking about compassionate things. Take care, Capricorn. So Aquarius. That full moon and new moon that's going to be in Virgo is going to be in your 8th house. So between March and September, I would say activities that you might want to consider taking up are my investments, my 401k, my shared resources, my mortgages, my credit cards. Straight off, clean up any debt that you've got, I would say. Just clean up the debt between March and September, and you're going to be golden. For others, you're literally going to be looking at things like a mortgage and qualifying for it, and then maybe finally buying that home in, say, September time period, right? Yeah, that could be awesome for you. The other thing the 8th house is also our psychological selves. And so this could be a time when you take up therapy of some sort. Or maybe you are a therapist. And in March, you start, you end a certain way of doing therapy with people and take up new ways of doing it. And it ends up being a whole new start for you, maybe in that area of your life in September time period. Certainly, Virgo refers to important facts or information. So there's going to be some Aquarians that are just actively involved in doing that. But it is a focus on the 8th house of the finances that you share with other people, or the finances that you invest in, or your 401k. All these things are being highlighted in terms of endings and new beginnings. So big focus on that area of your life here. But the psychological self, the 8th house also rules more serious, intimate relationships like our sex life. So there may be some Aquarians that end something there and new beginnings start as well. Virgo asks us to focus on important information, not all the fluff. So you will have this laser focus on anything that is important, not on the superfluous fluff stuff. So good time to also consult with a financial advisor, I would say, right the way from March all the way through September, to maybe get some new investments going and change up some stuff for yourself. Dialing back to March, that new moon that's going to be in Aries, well, that sextiles your sign, Aquarius, and it is involving your 3rd house of communications. So I would say there may be some opportunities towards the end of March. Maybe there's going to be a new opportunity for a writing project where you take the lead. I like that a lot. Or you take the lead with regards to maybe presenting for your company in front of people, right? That's also the 3rd house. Writing projects, for sure, communications of some sort. Maybe you're going to be given some new opportunities on the job, or maybe a place that you volunteer at, where they're asking you, put together this whole communication package for us. We need you to do that. And you take it up. It involves writing, and it may also involve you presenting your writing to groups of people, right? For others, this may just be new starts with regards to interacting with your siblings more. Maybe you've not been in touch with them, and this new moon sparks a new start for you, and also your neighbors. Maybe there's going to be new neighbors coming into your neighborhood that you start interacting with towards the end of March. Certainly with Neptune going into Aries and involving your third house, these new things coming in could have a spiritual element of some sort or a compassionate element as well, right? Because that's very much the Neptune part, right? Now, when we look at that full moon that's going to be in Pisces towards the first half of September, that's going to be your second house. So here we're featuring a money house as well, right? But this is the money that you earn, and it's your value of yourself, your own values, and your possessions. So it could be that you have some new opportunity come your way between March and September, and you end a job that you're doing. An income that you have ends for you. Now, it's an eclipse, so it can go both ways. You could end a job the first half of September and take up a new one, right? Because you've got the new moon in Virgo that's happening towards the latter half of September. So letting go of a job at the first half and starting a new one at the latter half of September could be a good activity for some Aquarians. But it could also mean that, the value of yourself is enhanced for you at this time. It doesn't matter that it's a full moon. That full moon in Pisces could have someone recognizing your compassionate side and how much value that brings to, say, the job, the money that you earn. Yeah. Now, Aquarius, you're going to, believe it or not, have eclipses starting in your sign next year in 2026. We'll talk about that more later, but that's also a big push that's going to be happening for you, right? Where your destiny path will be lit up by eclipses starting next year, 2026. Something to look forward to. You've got Pluto in your sign for many, many years to come, aiding in your transformation. Let's make all that transformation positive, especially as it relates to your money. I mean, the March eclipses and the September ones seem to really focus on the money, either invested money, shared money, or the money that you make. Take care, Aquarius. So Pisces. Well, Pisces is an interesting sign for the months of March and September. You have the full moon and new moon in your opposite sign of Virgo. So this puts a big emphasis on your partnerships. So it could be that your business partnerships, your marriage partnership, and or clients, if you've got them, there's a big focus put on them with regards to you having to see what they're doing, right? So when we talk about the seventh house, we're looking over at other people. And then we say, well, what are those other people? Well, they could be any other people, but in particular, ones that you sign contracts with. And that's your marriage partner, as well as your business partnerships and your clients. So there's a big focus for you between March and September, Pisces, on this area of your life. New starts, new beginnings, but also endings, or big, big, big information coming your way. Big, important information and facts coming your way, because Virgo is all about that. Now, there could be a tie-in with regards to health as well, and it might be the health of a person, like your marriage partner or a business partnership, but it could also talk to the health of the marriage, the health of the business partnership, the health of the clients. Comes into focus for you right from March all the way through to September 2025. Dialing back to March, that eclipse, the new moon eclipse that's happening in Aries, involves your second house. So this is a new start with regards to the value that you give, a new start to how you value yourself, but also a new start to a new source of income. So this could be you taking on a new job towards the end of March. Now, right after that new moon, we have Neptune also going into Aries, right? And so that new source of income could have some kind of compassionate theme associated with it. So what does that mean? Well, it could be that your money that you're making now is a new job in a charity. a new job in a hospital setting, or anything to do with compassionate or having compassion for people. Yeah. Now, when we look at the full moon in Pisces, that's going to be happening in the first half of September. Well, that's your first house. So this is all about you, Pisces, certainly at the first half of September. This could have you ending something, anything. First house is every part of your life, basically, but it's all about you. It could have you ending something, but also then beginning something. So it's like a door shuts, boom, another door opens instantly. That's what can happen at eclipses. So that full moon in the first part of September, look to that for absolutely new beginnings, but you're having to end something at the same time. Now, we're also going to have the North Nodes, of course, hovering around at this time too in Pisces. And of course, Neptune, although it goes retrograde at this time, Neptune will be coming out of your sign, certainly by 2026, but it's still influencing you, and hopefully it's giving you good inspiration, right? Yeah, so with the North Nodes also in Pisces at this time, I would say that, wow, I mean, it's like I'm getting this feeling intuitively that destiny is at work for you, Pisces. Just pay attention to what is shown to you, especially the first half of September with that full moon, excuse me, in your sign, right? Now, the other thing that you have happening in April, and I will talk about this in detail in that video, but just as a heads up, you also have Mercury as well as Venus going direct in your sign, Pisces, 24 and 26 of Pisces in April. So depending when you're listening to this, that's April 2025. I'm making this sort of mid-February. So those watching this early on, after I've published this on YouTube, yeah, you want to watch out for April, especially if you've got anything around 24, 26, because everything could move forward for you. Certainly mid-April, when both Mercury and Venus will be going direct in Pisces. Yeah. So partnerships are featured for you between March and September time period with the eclipses. A new source of income's coming in for you. And then some ending, but maybe some beginning towards the first half of September, especially if there's a compassionate or even intuitive element, right? Listening to our intuition type thing is very Pisces-like, and you are a Pisces, right? So look to September for some big change, is what I would say. Wherever you need change, that's an eclipse that will probably bring it in for you. Take care, Pisces. All right, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed that video on all 4 eclipses that are happening in 2025. I will go into these eclipses through each month as well and feature maybe a few more details for you. But I wanted to do this video so you can keep going back to it if you want to, for information that may be of use, and I hope it is of use. As always, I love doing people's charts. If, as you've been listening to and watching this video or audio, you're saying, oh, wow, yeah, I've got something at that degree, you may want to look to getting your astrology done, maybe even just your updated astrology, like me doing your progressed chart. But any of my services are down below in the text box. Feel free to reach out to me by email, and I will answer any questions that you've got. Comments, of course, I love hearing. I especially like, as we go through these 2 eclipse periods, it would be really fun to have some people post and say, well, this is what happened to me in March as a result of those eclipses. Because I think it always helps. It helps me, for sure. But I know it also helps other people reading those comments. So feel encouraged by me to do that, right? I'm sending everybody lots of love, lots of happiness, and I'm hoping these eclipses bring people to where they want to be, right? Take care of yourself, everybody. Lots of love, and bye for now.